There's been an urban legend for years in Washington. It's about a cave full of bureaucrats hidden 200 feet underground in Pennsylvania. Inside, over 28,000 file cabinets of manila folders, and there are rumors of ghosts pulling drawers open in the middle of the night. One Obama official called it that crazy cave. People inside never see a ray of sunlight. Employees enter in the dark and leave in the dark. And the mood? Crabby and miserable. There's no kitchen inside. Fire hazard. So if you want a meal, a pizza man with a security clearance will deliver a large cheese. One worker quit and took a new job blasting holes in oil and gas wells with explosives, saying one of the 5 worst jobs in the world was a great alternative to being down there. It's called Iron Mountain.
If you are a high compliance or high security need organization, this is the place to be. The Western Pennsylvania facility is a city underground. It has many of the same things that a city would have. It has fire and rescue teams and a store. The 30-foot thick limestone and 200 feet of stone above the facility lead to natural weather protection, and the ambient temperature of 53 degrees helps the facility remain cool. Iron Mountain works with our customers to design the space of their needs. Whether it's what you can see over my shoulder, cage material, or solid steel wall, Faraday enclosures, or coops, Iron Mountain is there to support those customers. Additionally, this facility is very unique. All of the cooling goes back to an underground lake. We pump and transfer the heat from the crawl units that you see beside me back to the lake, and then pump that heat into the water. That lake can sustain 10 megawatts of heat coming from these facilities as it stands today.
This is a retirement cave. When John Smith from the EPA retires, his paperwork is buried in this cave. And it takes anywhere from 2 months to 6 months to get it processed. In Texas, it takes 2 days. The work inside runs at the speed of human fingers and feet, and as slowly now as it did in 1977. There are no state-of-the-art computers. Bureaucrats use ballpoint pens and reams of paper, ream after ream after ream. The Washington Post did a big expose on the retirement cave 10 years ago and called it a sinkhole of bureaucracy. Obama knew about the cave and tried to fix it, but failed. Barry spent millions and just ended up hiring 200 more cave dwellers.
We all know that government is slow. We all know that government can be inefficient. We all know that the bureaucracy can be bloated. We all worked in the White House. We tried to reorganize the government. We tried to find efficiency. It's hard to do.
And honestly, some of this is pretty annoying because it's some of the stuff we should have done.
Right, yeah,
The Washington Post did a whole 6-part series about bloated federal bureaucracy during the Obama years on the cave, the VA, Medicare fraud, Social Security. Even Biden was pro-DOGE.
As long as there is waste and fraud in government and serious waste and fraud, people lose confidence in the ability of their government to do their job for them, deal with their taxpayers' dollars. And when taxpayers' money is wasted in a fraudulent behavior, it robs the taxpayers not only their money, but it undercuts the ability to us to serve the people we're elected to serve.
Now Democrats are screaming at DOGE for cleaning up the waste that frustrated them a decade ago.
The Trump-Musk administration want to do is they want to look into your kids' lunch money. They want to take that money and give it out in billionaire tax cuts. It's about helping Elon Musk and Donald Trump be as efficient as possible in robbing our government.
Chairwoman Green literally showed a pic in our oversight congressional hearing, so I thought I'd bring one as well. Now, this, of course, we know is President Elon Musk. He's also the world's richest man.
Even the media is like, really?
Do you think that calling Elon Musk a is effective messaging?
Well, he is a
Well, this just in. The guy the Democrats are calling just discovered we were spending thousands of dollars on therapy sessions for transgender refugees in Greece. We obviously canceled it. Notice how none of the Democrats defending these specific programs are like, hey, We definitely need Greek shrinks for trans refugees. They're just acting busted.
Elon, take your musty millions and musty Moscow rights to the moon. Because if you don't, we're going to stand up, we're going to speak out, we're going to march, we're going to do anything we need to do to make sure that the people of this country understand that the CFPB is for them. You get your musty hands off of our money or go to Moscow, you musty moo.
He said, get your musty hands off our money. Cleaver just let the cat out of the bag. They think it's their money. It's your money. Even the media is defending this. Listen.
Some of the details that have come out, like the $59 million spent on luxury hotels, it's actually not.
You're talking about the FEMA money that was abused for migrants? That was FEMA money for migrants? That's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
So would you stop that? Would you stop that process?
Don't be the portrayal. What I'm saying is the portrayal by him is just not factually accurate. He's talking about luxury hotels.
When you migrate from a farm in El Salvador and live at a Midtown Manhattan hotel for free, I'd call that luxury. Maybe not to Anderson Cooper, but definitely to Jose, who never left his village his whole life. Singing and swearing's not working, so Democrats are judge shopping. Liberal lawyers filed suit in Judge John McConnell's courtroom, an Obama appointee with a long list of donations to Biden, Schumer, Bill, and Hillary. He ruled that Trump can't freeze funds. But then he was overruled, and this thing is going all the way to the Supreme Court. Even Axios is saying Trump and DOGE will probably win. And if they don't, doesn't matter, because Democrats say you can ignore the court.
And the Supreme Court told me I couldn't. I found two other ways to do it.
I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. It is the justices themselves, through the deeply partisan and unfounded nature of these rulings.
Biden went around the Supreme Court to bribe college grads and bragged about it. Congress never gave him money to do that. Trump's saving money. It's unconstitutional to save money. If Congress appropriates money and an unelected bureaucrat sends it to Greek shrinks to hear about trans refugee trauma, you can't cancel that contract? Biden fired people who wanted to come to work, even though they weren't vaxxed. Trump can't fire people who don't want to come to work? If it's illegal to cut spending and lay people off, this country is going to go bankrupt. The media keeps asking the White House to bring receipts like they don't believe these programs exist. Oh, they do.
These are screenshots of contracts that DOGE found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that DOGE identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one, $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing.
We paid for a terrorist's tuition and then invited him for lunch at the Pentagon and served him smoked ham. Muslims don't even eat ham. That's the kind of pork we can get rid of. The State Department spent $2.5 million to reduce emissions from cow flatulence in Brazil. How do you reduce cow flatulence? You can't change the cow's diet. All they do is graze on grass. Are they somehow capturing the flatulence? I'd love to see that. Someone got $1.5 million to monitor a mailroom, not even open or send the mail, just monitor it. How can anyone support this?
If you tell me that we should be giving money to those things, those entities, I think you'll probably have to leave as a reporter because you're not very talented. There's no chance that there's not kickbacks or something going on. When you give millions and millions of dollars to somebody that stands to look at something for 15 minutes and walks away with millions of dollars, that money's coming back in some form. And that's only one form of corruption. The biggest thing is what they do to our country. They're taking massive amounts of money and spending it on items. I went through a list of 200 expenditures that were made. and I found 3 that looked like they were reasonable.
The president hired a rocket scientist to open up America's books. He's literally a rocket scientist, the world's greatest IT guy. Math, accounting, engineering, computer science. It's child's play. Musk found more fraud in 3 weeks than the House Oversight Committee found in 30 years. When there's a problem with your computer at work, or you need to streamline the payroll system, do you call the 75-year-old partner at his 3-martini lunch? No. You call the young tech genius.
He's a super genius that's been with, okay? And when you've been with by these nitwits that hide behind 3-letter agencies, and you're dealing with one of the smartest people alive, and he helps Donald Trump get into office, and he goes, I want to find out what kind of corruption is really around. Well, you up. You up and picked the wrong psychopath on the spectrum, because he's gonna hunt you down. He's gonna find out what's going on, and that's good. That's good for everybody. That's how you should be looking at this. Like, wow, we have a brilliant mind that is examining these really corrupt and goofy systems and bringing in a bunch of psychopath wizards.
Musk's going from department to department. Dozers are at the GSA, telling people to cancel meetings, sitting them down for interviews and asking, what do you do? Every department should have to justify themselves.
How soon do you want the Department of Education to be closed?
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job. We're ranked, so they rank the top 40 countries in the world. We're ranked number 40th, but we're ranked number 1 in one department, costs per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, I hate to say it, China, as big as it is, it's ranked in the top 5. And that's a primary competitor. We're ranked number 40. So if we're ranked number 40, that means something's really wrong, right?
Democrat governors shut their schools down for 2 years, and our children's test scores flopped. And they're mad. We're doging DEI classes. Something's seriously wrong with these people. But we're not picking on people. Every department's going to get doged.
There are waste, redundancies, and headcounts in headquarters that need to be addressed. There's just no doubt. Look at a lot of the climate programs that have been pursued at the Defense Department. The Defense Department is not in the business of climate change, solving the global thermostat. We're in the business of deterring and winning wars. So things like that we want to look for to find efficiencies, and many others, the way we acquire weapon system, procurement. There's plenty of places where we want the keen eye of DOGE.
Golf legend Phil Mickelson is saying this: Dear Elon, please do California next. The American people voted for this. And the Supreme Court ruled that unelected bureaucrats can't make rules and regulations. So Trump is just following the law and neutralizing the runaway bureaucrats. We have to stop this insane spending and release the hostages from the caves.